Hey, thank you so much for stopping by our Squad YouTube channel. I wanted to take a moment before this video and personally invite you to Squad. Squad is our youth group here at Crosspoint Church, and we meet Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock. So I just want to let you know that Squad is for you. You belong here and you have a squad, so we'd love to have you come and hang out with us. That being said, right after this video, could you help us out? Could you subscribe and could you share? That way we can get this message out to as many people as possible. We thank you for that. We hope to see you Wednesday, but enjoy this message from Wednesday night at Squad. Hey, can we celebrate our band and Jesus? As you make your way to your seat now that you're there, could you look to the person to your side and say, "Who's James?" James. James, are you out here? Your car is double parked, and we need you to. Now, so if you're just joining us, we are in part 4 of our study on James, and it's we're so creative that we called it James. That's about as all you can get out of our creativity right now. But it's called James, and here's what you need to know about James, since you asked who James is. James was the brother of Jesus. And the funny thing that we said in the first week of this series was that James didn't believe Jesus was the Son of God. And before you get mad at James, what would your brother or sister have to do to prove to you that they were the Son of God? Right? Doing a couple party tricks probably wouldn't do it. You know, like walking across the pool in the backyard, like that's, yeah, you probably had the tarp or something, dude. I'm not all in yet. But after Jesus was crucified, James thought, finally, I'm a little sad my brother died, but now this whole thing can be put to rest. And we don't have to be known as I'm the brother of the crazy guy. But then 3 days later, he saw him again. And then he started believing. And then he really started this thing called the church around Jerusalem. And he was one of the big proponents of sharing Christianity around Jerusalem where Jesus was crucified. And so he saw some things among Christians, like if anyone should treat people nicely, you think it'd be Christians, right? Like when you go to Chick-fil-A, I expect some kind of service, you know. But he was going to Chick-fil-A and have to wait in a long line, and they did not say my pleasure. That's what he realized is like all these churches, they weren't really acting like his brother talked about. And so he wrote this letter, we call it a book, but he wrote this letter to Christians in the area saying, hey guys, get it right. And so if you're looking through your notes, I'll catch you up, or if you don't have them with you, let me catch you up. Week 1, we said, kind of just like Greta read to us a second ago and post on Instagram, so you can go to her newsfeed if you need to check that. But we should be quick to listen to other people, even when we don't agree, and most when we don't agree. But we should be slow to speak and slow to become angry. And then in week 2, we said, you know what, if I believe this thing called Christianity, if I believe in God, if I believe in Jesus, then it should cause me to act a certain way and like do certain things. So I should put my faith and action, and we said that it's important what you do because what you do makes a difference. That was week 2. And then last week, we said it's not just what you do, and James told us that it's also what you say and how you say it. And so he said you control your whole body by this little part of your body. The 4 inches in your mouth, your tongue, that controls like how your day's going to go or how you're going to impact someone else's day. So you can either build people up, or we said you could be suckers, right? You could suck people to where they just like, they feel terrible when you leave them, right? And so you either build people up or you empty people out. You're one of those. And so we asked this last week, which one are you? When you call someone and they see that it's you on the caller ID, are they like, oh yes, good, right? That means you must build them up. Or are they like, oh man, I ain't gonna answer it, right? Because that kind of lets you know which one you are. But this week, I want to ask a couple of questions. Sorry for all the questions, but I need you to figure this out. I can't tell you this. I can't just give you the answer. You have to find this one out on your own. So the main topic of today is really why. So all these things James is talking about, why would we do those things? Why would we be so quick to listen to other people, especially if we don't agree? I mean, they do not like my style. They're not my kind of vibe. I'm not trying to listen, James. Why would we do that? Why would we put our faith in action? Why would we do things? Or lastly, why would we say positive things to negative people? Well, James talks about it. So we're going to just read 4 verses, and before each verse, I just want to ask you a question, and then James kind of answers it, okay? So here's the first one. If you want to turn in your Bibles, James chapter 4. James chapter 4. And I'm just going to pose this first question real quick to you. All right, so while you're getting there, this is kind of also a way for you to get some time to look it up. It'll be on the screen for you if you don't have it, though. First question is, why do we argue? Why do we argue? Think about the last argument you were in. It's probably like out in the lobby, maybe. You took the last piece of pizza, right? Maybe that was it. Maybe that was you. What do you mean you were out of cotton drink? Maybe that was you. Maybe that was you. But what was the last argument you were in? But why do we argue? And so check this out. James answers it after he asks it. So verse 1, he says, what causes fights and quarrels among you? So same question. Why do we argue? And then he answers it. Check this out. Don't they come from desires, from your desires that battle within you? So it's saying, isn't it really that there's something going on inside of you, that there's like some sort of back and forth going on? You want something, and you're not happy because you don't have it. And so then you argue about it. Maybe someone else has what you want, what you desire, and so you want to fight them for it. Or they're about to get what you have, and so you try to fight them for it. So like Greta was like all up in the book of James just looking for the chapter, and then Kylie had to slap the phone out of her. You know, you got to... If we're going to fight for the same thing, she's about to get what Kylie wanted, so she had to show up and show out, right? So she put her faith in action. Maybe not in that way. But James is saying this, there's probably desires that battle within you. And so I wanted to, I'm not going to bore you with this. I'm reading a book now that's pretty boring. It would be very boring for you. It's a textbook. It's for class. But in there it says something pretty interesting. This one scholar, he believes this. He believes that as humans, we were made with a God-sized hole, or God-shaped hole in our heart. Meaning that only God can fill it. Not literally, mind you. Like, don't go get an x-ray and say, I don't see God in. But like, there's this longing, these desires battling back and forth. It's really in the shape of God, but we'll try to cram other stuff in there. Like, we'll try to put Bay in there where God's supposed to be. And then wonder, like, why you're mad at Bay all of a sudden. Like, you are not getting it done, and now you're upset with them. You're not going to text them back. Are you kidding me? No. But then if it's not they, then it's, well, let me pour myself into, like, this sport. Let me pour myself into this skill. Let me just see if I can go to the studio and drop these lyrics real quick. Let me just see how much stuff I can put. Maybe it's a substance that you take. If I could just take some time, I'm going to feel whatever I can. And all of a sudden, at the end of it, you still have that same desire. Like, it didn't fix it because it's a God-shaped hole that only God can fill. Why do we consistently try to let other people fill the void in our life that only God can fill? And so we put that on other people and then get upset when they can't fulfill what we have for them. That's a little too deep, my fault. In February, we'll talk about relationships. Come back and see us, all right? It's going to be great. All about relationships. If you're in a relationship and you want to get better, come see us. If you're in a relationship and you're not in a relationship and you want to get in one, come see us. We'll help you out. If you're in a relationship and you're trying to get out of it, just keep doing what you're doing. You'll get there. All right? That's our long subtitle for the series. But I digress. Let's check out verse 2, but I have another question. So if the first question was, why do we argue? And James is saying, because we have all these desires that are unmet. Look what he says in verse 2. So here's your second question. What do you want? So if it's because I have something or I want something I don't have, then the question really is, then what do you want so we can stop arguing? And so James goes on in verse 2 and says this, you desire, but you do not have, so you kill. Now, that's pretty serious. I don't think anyone in here has killed anyone. I don't know. This altar is open, but we also need to have the police help you to your car. Right? And so maybe you haven't done that, but let's be honest, you have killed some people with your words. Like just like in that argument that you thought of at the beginning of the message, you said some pretty like direct things, right? And you said some pretty hurtful things. And you may even say, well, they were said to me too. And they were. But you can't control the other person. There you go. You don't repay evil with it. Preach, girl. You can't simply say what you want to say and expect, no kind of repercussion or consequence. So James is saying, you desire, but you do not have, so you kill. So you attack so you can get what you want. And he goes on, you covet, which means you want, but you cannot get what you want. So it's funny that I want what I can't have, and I try to get what I can't have, and I still can't get it. So you quarrel and you fight. And he ends it this way, you do not have because you do not ask God. Now, that brought a couple of things to me. I think part of why we have these desires that are unmet is because we want something. So the question was, what do you want? And I know exactly what you want. You want more. You want more. Whatever you get, you want more. Marissa reminds me of this because there'll be a pair of shoes that I want. oh shoot, these shoes come out. I'll drop some hints, like I'll say, here's the date. Hey, what are you doing on this Saturday morning? Right? How's the bank account looking? Can we, might do some extra housework around the house? Something to make her feel better about like getting me these shoes. And she'll get the shoes for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're the best. Yes. She gets me the shoes. I open the box and put the shoes on. I make sure I check the weather. Oh, we're good. Inside only shoes. I get to wear the shoes. And then I get on Twitter and I say, hey, babe, these shoes come out next month. We want more. Right? Thank you. Right? Now, don't laugh too hard at me. Could you do the same thing? And in fact, I can tell you just how unmet your desires are. Check this out. You will be at school. You probably did it today, but let's fast forward to the future. Tomorrow you're going to be at school, and you're going to be sitting in class. Let's say second period. And you know what you're going to be thinking? Man, I should have went to breakfast on Tuesday with the squad. But I wish I was at home. Right? You're going to be sitting in class, second period, thinking, I wish I was at home. And then 3:35 will come. You'll get to get on the bus. You'll get to your house, and you're going to get home. And right as you are about 1.5 hours into Fortnite, you're going to think, man, I wish I was somewhere else. Like, what are my friends doing? Where can we meet at? Where can we go? And then they're going to say, hey, we're going to the game tonight. It's at school. And then you're going to go, Mom, can I go to school? Right? It's this continuous thing. So wherever I'm at, I don't want to be at. And it's this continuous battle of unmet desires of wherever I am, whatever I have, I want more or I want different. Right? Isn't that true? Absolutely. So he's saying that you don't have it because you don't ask God. So it leads me to think that all these desires that we have must be temporary. And you're going to try to put them in your boyfriend or put them in your girlfriend. You're going to try to have them be your desires. And you'll get frustrated with them and all these things that you want. But let me tell you this is kind of some great relationship advice. And you might want to write this down or tweet this out. Uncommunicated expectations are toxic. I can't hold you to a standard that I have not communicated to you. But we do it. And so if you don't do what I thought you were supposed to do, I'm upset. I never told you I wanted you to do it or not do that. But inevitably, now it's boiling up inside of me like, why wouldn't you do that? And I get frustrated. So uncommunicated expectations are toxic. So we find ourselves pouring ourselves into other people, trying to get validation from other people, having all these desires, going back and forth in this battle. And God's saying, that's not why I made you. And so James says, you have not because you didn't ask God. So that brings us to our third question. And this one's pretty good. And it's going to get a little bit deeper, but bear with me. So in verse 3, it kind of addresses this question. Why do you want those things? So if our first one was, why do we argue? And the answer was, we want things. And then we said, well, what do you want? And we inevitably said, all the things we want are temporary. Then why do we want those things? And we want those things because it's going to fill a void that we think we have. Or it's going to fill a void that we know we have. But it won't fill that void. And so James says in verse 3, he says, just before that, you don't have because you didn't ask God. In verse 3, he says, when you ask, you do not receive, because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. So there's probably been a time where you prayed for something and you didn't get it. And you're like, God, why didn't you give me that? Now I'd ask you to go back into that prayer and say, why did you want that? Why did you want that particular thing? Why did you want that to happen or occur? Like, God, if you could just give me the lottery numbers, I will follow you all of my days, right? What motive did you have? Was it a positive motive? Was it a negative motive? And James is saying, when you ask in God's will for what he wants for you, then he will provide that for you. And so maybe some of the things we ask for and pray for, we're not getting because we're doing it for the wrong reasons, for the wrong motives, because we just want our pleasures to be fulfilled. And James is saying, don't do it that way. But you don't have what you're missing because you haven't asked for it. And so tonight I want to give us an opportunity to ask for that. All right? So Isaiah, if you would do us the honors of making it super spiritual in here. Conversions go up 23% with music in the background. I'm just kidding. But I want to ask you just a couple more questions that I want you to answer. So this whole message, here's what it's been about. If I had to boil it down, we all have a void in our life. We all have these desires that we can't answer, and we put it on other people. Like, I want who I'm dating to fill this void. I want my grades to fill this void. But at the end of the night, we still go home and we wonder, man, what is it? Why do I still feel this way? Maybe some of you have abused or attempted to use some substances to fill a void, and it wears off. Everything you've tried is temporary. Your relationships are temporary. The substances are temporary. It's all temporary. So is it possible that you were made by a divine creator for a certain purpose, not of this world, because it's all temporary? And that's why it's never worked. That's why it's never filled that void. And so it brings us back to our motives and some of the questions that James asked. And so if you want to write these down, I just want you to answer these to yourself tonight. And so here's the question, ask it two ways. Why do you do what you do? Or think of some of the things you will not do. That's a hard no. Why don't you do some of the things that you won't do? Why is it that you make some of the decisions that you do? So a while back, or as I'm reading this boring book that I'm not going to read to you guys, one of the believers and their scholars thinks that there's ways that people just have something revealed to them by God, and that's what you have to go based off of. Others think that I can argue my way. I can tell you all about God. I can convince you about God. But at the end of it all, they get to the same conclusion that there's a part where both have to blend together, and you have to have a moment where either you put God to the test or he just reveals himself to you. And so I just want to give you two quick stories, and then we'll finish with the last verse, because I need you guys to answer this question. I can't tell you. Two experiences for me, very simple. In college, not making the best decisions, especially with relationships. So I prayed. I was in the middle of church looking for a girl, right? Just man, God, shoot. I know he's up there preaching, but let me just find one of show me the way. Show me the way. Wait for a light bulb to blink above a girl. I'm like, she's the winner, right? But instead, I was like, what are my motives? I'm sitting in church. That's not what you have for me. And so from that day on, I prayed, God, give me the girl that would be best for me in my relationship with you. A girl that would help me better understand you. A girl that's smart and gets my jokes, because they're not always funny, but I just need the guilt laugh, I need that sometimes. And then at the end, I saved it for last on purpose. I said, if she could be pretty, that would be. But your will, God, your will, your way. And he answered that prayer. So I can stand on that. But when I put all of my faith based off of a circumstance, sometimes as time goes on, it's going to fade away. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened. And it's kind of temporary until I put God over it. Then it's permanent. And so another one happened. Micah came to me a year into our dating, I think, and said, I need to talk to you. And I thought, Marissa, what did I do? What did you tell him I did, right? Getting into a discussion with the older brother, I got to know where I'm coming from. What's he upset about? But he wasn't upset. He had this question. He said, how do you feel about preaching? I'm for it. People should preach. But he said, I think there's something in you. I think that you have this talent. I think that you have a gift. And I think that you could be a good preacher, a communicator. And I said, that's cool, but I don't want to do it because you want me to. I don't want to do it because I want me to. I want God to want me to. Because if God doesn't want me to do it, he'll remove me real quick. And I would have wasted all that time. So I spent a week, I said, God, I'm chasing after you. I put him to the test. And, it's like you watch all these religious movies or not so religious movies, like Bruce Almighty, And nothing on PureFlix, mind you. It wasn't there then. But I got into I was working in Raleigh, so I'm getting in my car, leaving the house. And I said, God, I'm chasing after you this week, man. Give me a sign that this is what you want me to do. And I got into the car, and I turned the engine on, and the radio came on automatically, and a song was playing, and it was, I saw the sign, right? And I thought, that's cute, God. That's cute, but I need something a little bit more solid than that. That seems like one of those coincidences or something. And so on the way back, I get to my office, or not my office, my cubicle, and I look up a preacher that I read a book during college that really helped me better understand what the gospel meant, which is good news. And I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to this message, and I'm looking for one to listen to, and I think it said something about calling. I was like, okay, yeah, that seems good. And in this message, he said, if you're passionate about it, if you're good at it, if God has a need for it, and then it's like a Venn diagram, in the middle of that can be your calling, that God can use that. And I thought, man, that helped me in my search for God. While I'm listening to this guy, this man who never talks, has his headphones on, watching, listening to something else while he's working, he takes his headphone off and looks over at me and says, hey, have you ever thought about youth ministry or preaching? And I looked back at him, and it must have done something, because as I looked at him, he said, I don't know why I asked that, I just felt like I needed to ask. He didn't know that he caught me right in the moment. He uses words, the most powerful thing in our body, to tell me that God has a purpose for me. And that solidified that I don't have to hear God's voice audibly. I don't need to see him walk across water. He can use the people around me to do what he's called me to do. And so that week I said, all right, I think it was Wednesday, and I did a quick search. I said, let me see if there's a church, and that church, maybe I'll go to Summit Church right here, and I'll see if they've got a Wednesday service. I just need to be in church. And I Googled it. They did have a Wednesday service, not like a church service. It was some event they had going on, but that night was free. And when I showed up, it was a church conference for leaders. I could see a calling starting to take place. But it was after I answered this question. Why would I do what I did? Why would I not do what I want to? And here's what I want you to walk away with, and I think can help you with your calling tonight. James says it in chapter 4, the 8th verse. He says this, come near to God, and he'll come near to you. When you make room, he'll fill that void. If you come near to him, if you take the step toward him, he will meet you there. He did it for me. I'm not saying this because it's just written in an old book. It's not because that Jesus' brother wrote it in a letter. I'm saying it because it happened for me. So I want you to put it to the test. Prove me wrong. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners. He was bold, James was. He wasn't messing around. But he says, and purify your hearts. That's that thing that's got that hole in it, right? That you're trying to cram other stuff into to fill it up. Purify that. Bring it to God, and he'll meet you in that place. So that being said, one last question. Here it is. You may believe in God. That's probably why you're here. Maybe if you're not, we can work on that. Come talk to me. I'd love to sit down and talk to you. You may believe in God, but is he the Lord of your life? You believe in him. You know some of the details. You know some of the things not to do, why not to do them. But you don't do it all the time. So maybe he's not the Lord of your life, but that can change tonight. How about tonight you begin a relationship with God, and you feel that void day by day in a relationship with him? So if you would you bow your heads? I want to pray for us that God would respond to your call tonight. Dear Lord, thank you so much for each student in this room. Father, it's an honor to speak from experience of what you've done in my life, but Lord, it's not going to win it for them. I pray that each one would pray in their own way right now for you to respond in a powerful way, that they would get to see you at work, not just to see you do something crazy for their own pleasure and the wrong motive, but so that they would meet you, so they would take that step and meet you, knowing this promise that you will meet them there. Now, it is a process. There's a lot that goes along with it. It may not be immediate, but it will be guaranteed. I hope that each student in this room knows that if you continuously met our expectations, God, then you wouldn't be able to exceed them. That if we continuously prayed for what we wanted, we wouldn't get what we needed. And that's what you have planned for us. So I want to thank you right now for all the unanswered prayers, because we wouldn't be where we are without you, and we wouldn't be where we're going if we hadn't. So thank you, God, for that. I pray that you would speak to each heart in this room and begin filling it. May they ask you into their heart to fill that void and begin a relationship, not just knowing you, but being in a relationship with you and letting you lord over their lives.